boys and girls. It's Miss Manning here. I'm here to teach you Module 2, Lesson 1, where we're learning to multiply multi-digit whole numbers and multiples of 10 using our place value patterns and the distributive and the associative properties. So for us to do this, we're going to have problems like, say, 20 times 30. We've got to be able to take our numbers and rewrite them in unit form. So this would be 2 tens and 3 tens. So it's the same problem, it's just written in a different form. Then we're going to need to multiply our numbers. So in this case, it's 2 times 3, so we end up with 6. Our next step is to multiply our unit forms. So 10 times 10. So remember when we do that, we have our 1 times 1, and then we count our zeros. 10 times 10 is 100. Then we're going to place our numbers on the place value chart in disk form. So this would be our place value chart. We had 6 tens. And then our last step is going to be to distribute those disks. In this case, we don't need to distribute. When I'm talking about distributing, I'm talking about if we ended up with something like 11 disks. If we had 11 ones, you would easily tell me that 10 of these 10 ones equals 1 10. So I would end up with 1 in the tens place and 1 in the ones place to give me the number 11. So it's the same thing when we talk about distribute. We mean to break it apart. Let's start off with some mental math. Some of these may seem like you could do them in your head. Others of these seem a little bit more daunting to try, but with our place value chart, it's all pretty simple. So we have 3 copies of 100. Let's start with our 3s in our 3 disks in our ones place, and then we want to multiply, meaning our number is going to get bigger, and we're going to take it times 100. So 10 would be 1 step up. 100 is 2 steps up the place value chart. So we started with 3, and then our disks moved to the hundreds. Now, each time they moved a place value, that means one of these disks actually became 10. So this would be 10, 20, 30. And over here, we would have 3 disks here. That would be 10 of these disks, 10 tens would be 100, 200, 300. So then we moved them over to the hundreds place. I'm not going to draw 10 disks here, but that was just to show you. So here we started off in our ones place. We're multiplying, so our numbers are going to get bigger. So we're moving up our place value chart. And I have 3 zeros, meaning I need to take 1, 2, 3 steps up the place value chart, landing in the thousands. Now I have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So that might seem a little bit easy with our simpler numbers, but once we go over here and we start working with our decimal places, that's when this place value chart is going to be really helpful. So if we start off with 5 in our ones place and we multiply, so move up by 1,000, we have 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. So I end up with my 5 disks here. So I end up with a number of 5,000. Now, what if we started with 500 or 5,000ths, meaning down here in the decimals place? So I'm going to start with my 5 disks here. We're multiplying, so our number is going to be getting bigger. So we're moving up the place value chart, and we're going to take 1, 2, 3 steps. So 1, 2, 3 steps, meaning we end up here in the ones place. So we end up with 5. Now the reason that is, remember, is each one of these, when we take it times one of these powers of 10, if I broke this apart, this would be 10 times 10 times 10. So if I took 5,000ths times 10, that would mean each one of these would have 10. So this would be 1,000th, 2,000th, 3,000th, 4,000th, 5,000th, but then we would have 10 more down. I'm not going to draw all of them, which would mean each one of those 10 would move over to the hundredths place. And then there would be another 10. That would move to the hundredths place. And that would move to the hundredths place. And that one would move. And then that would only be taken care of multiplying it times 10. So we would have to multiply it by the next 10, which would move my 500ths to my 5/10ths. And then I would multiply it by another 10, which would take it from the tenths to the ones. So for the other part of our mental math, we're going to talk about, or we're going to practice with our unit form. So this is unit form, which means we have 4 tens. So disk in our tens place would be 4, which gives us the number 40. If we're talking about 4 10,000s in our place value chart, we would have 1, 2, 3, 4 10,000s. So as a number, that would mean we would have a 4 in the 10,000s. We have nothing in the thousands. Then we would put our comma. We have nothing in the hundreds. So we put in our placeholders in the tens and in the ones. So anytime on our place value chart where we don't have a disk or an amount, that's when we put in our placeholder 0. It indicates that there's no disks in there. So let's go to our next one, which is 400,000. So I'm going to do this in purple. 4 disks in the 100,000s. So I'm going to have a 4 in my 100,000s, but if you look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 place values that there's nothing. So we're going to have 5 zeros. And then I would put my comma here. So I end up with 400,000. Notice how we would read 400,000s and 400,000. So the only thing we do when we take it from unit to standard is we drop that S. All right, so let's get started with our lesson today. For problem 1 through 3, we're going to be doing these 3 problems, and I wrote up our success criteria so we could keep referencing those while we were doing it. So we need to write our numbers in unit form first. We can keep our 4 the same, but we're going to take this 30 and we're going to write it in unit form, which would be 3 tens. Then they want us to multiply the numbers. So my numbers here are 4 and 3. And then I have to multiply it by 10, or my tens. So I have 4 times 3, which is 12. I don't have unit forms to multiply here. I don't have another unit form for this number, so it's just going to end up being 12 tens. So then number 4, we're going to place those disks on our place value chart. So I have my tens place. I need to put 10 or 12 disks, I'm sorry. So I put 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I like to keep them together in groups of 10. So I just go 5 at a time. So I ended up with 12 tens here. But just like if I had 10 over here, you would very easily tell me, well, 10 of those, that means we can trade them in. 10 ones, we can trade those in for 110. Here I can trade in 10 tens for 100. So these can go over here. And I'll prove it to you. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Well, that's 100 here. So I end up with 120. So this means I have a 1 in the hundreds place, a 2 in the tens place. I have nothing in the ones place, so I end up with 120. Now let's do this same problem, but slightly differently. We're going to do 40 times 30. So I have 40 times 30. The first thing I need to do is rewrite my numbers in unit form. So instead of 40, I have 4 tens. And instead of 30, I have 3 tens. So I have 4 tens times 3 tens. Now we're going to multiply our numbers first. So we're going to take our 4 times our 3, and we get 12. Then we're going to multiply our units. So I have 10 times 10, which would be 100. So now I'm going, or I shouldn't write it like that. I should write it like this, 10 hundreds or 12 hundreds. So now I can put those on our place value chart. So I'm going to go to my hundreds. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to put the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have 10, 11, 12. So now I know I have 10 right here. 10 hundreds equals 1,000. I'll prove it. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. So now I end up with a 1 in the thousands place, 2 in the hundreds place, and then I have nothing in the tens or the ones. So I have 2 placeholder zeros, which gives me an answer of 1,200. So for our next concept problem, we have a little bit harder one, but it still has that 4 and that 3. So you should be able to do this one with me. We have our first step, which is rewriting the numbers in unit form. Well, they've done 4 thousands for us, so I want you to try 30. Okay, you should have had 3 tens. Then our next step is to multiply our numbers. So they have one of our numbers 3 here, so that means the other number, which is 4, should go here. Then step 3 says to multiply our unit forms, which would be thousands times tens. So then we would multiply them. So we have 4 times 3, which is 12, and thousands times tens. So if I'm here in the thousands and I multiply it by 10, I move up to the 10,000s. So now I have 12 10,000s. So I'm going to put those discs on my place value chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12 there. I have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, 100,000 right here that can go over here. So I'm distributing those discs, I'm breaking them apart to give me a 1 in the 100,000s, a 2 in the 10,000s, and I have placeholder zeros in my next 4 place values. So ones, tens, hundreds, comma, 10,000s, 10,000s, 100,000. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks so much. Remember to use those problem set problems and your place value chart whenever you need to. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.